Hi and welcome back to a new video, and that's going to be a different video as what you usually find on my channel. Once in a while we do vlogs, and then once in a while, like pretty rare, we also cover some of my like car stuff, car content, usually more about my Nissan GT-R, which I still own, but today it's more about something new. So yeah, I mean, I bought a Porsche, and I'm also not going to say Porsche. That's not how you say Porsche. It's Porsche. It's a German name, and that's how I'm going to say it. So alright, I have a Porsche Taycan here, and I actually bought this car like over a year ago. It took a long time that I actually got it delivered, and now I own it for about a month. Gained some experience with this. It's also the first time that I drive and own an EV, and prior to that I had no experience whatsoever driving like EVs and like with the charging and everything. But I mean, owning a Porsche is like interesting because it has a different or like a specific image to it. I always felt like I don't want to own a Porsche because it has like a very negative feel to it, that you're going to be a douchebag or whatever. But I had this experience driving a GT3 RS on a racetrack once, like 3-4 years ago, and it totally changed my perception of cars and brands. I can tell you, if you like fast cars and especially like driving on a racetrack, for example, there is nothing better. And especially Porsche has this thing that you can use this as a daily. You can drive this to the racetrack, you can use it all day on the racetrack, maybe not the Taycan, but in general Porsche cars, and then you just drive back home. So they have this perfect balance of, like a daily and still like very agile, and I just like it. If you drove a Porsche, then you will know what I mean. So that's why I thought like, okay, I mean, for all other things I'm doing, like technical stuff, I'm also like, I will buy whatever is best. And that's why I bought this. Even though it might have a negative image to it, but that might also depend on maybe the country you come from. But sometimes still mixed feelings about like the brand and like driving it, but also kind of proud that I'm able, that I kind of made it to buy something I think is like, from a technical standpoint, probably the best I can buy. And so far pretty happy about it. I just want to talk a bit about this car and some like features, whatever. Before we do a quick walk around, this is a Taycan GTS Sport Turismo. GTS stands for Gran Turismo Sport. So I mean, this means this car is actually called Taycan Gran Turismo Sport Turismo. Porsche, who came up with that garbage? That's like if you would get an award from me, like, the RGB awards and stuff, that would be the award for the stupidest name I've ever heard of a car. So from the outside, I mean, it's totally in line with the Cross Turismo, except for that it's lacking these weird plastic things that the Cross Turismo has, like on the side here and on the fender in the front and everything. But generally, I just wanted to have a car that has a lot of room as well. So because it's my daily, I want to be able to like give my friends a ride and also like have a huge trunk. And this car like basically combines all of this. Previous to the Taycan, I was driving an Audi RS5, which is already a quite expensive car. And it was a massive disappointment to me because it had so many like technical issues. I mean, I had it for like 70,000 kilometers. And during that time I had to replace the brakes, like the entire brakes, not like only the pads, but also the discs, I think 3 or 4 times. At least twice the brake disc just cracked and I had to like get it replaced, which at a price of like over 100,000 euro is like, and they just keep using the same parts. I don't get it. It's like it fails and you use it again, and it fails and you use it again, and it's a lot of money as well. So I had to always pay for that, and that was very frustrating and kind of not acceptable. And then last year it started that I had gearbox issues. So the car, if I would drive like 50 kilometers like through the city, it would always start like changing the gear from 5th to 6th gear, like back and forth all the time. And then I brought it back to the dealer and asked like, okay, so what's wrong? Can you fix it? They did some software changes, nothing helped. Yeah, at a certain point, that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to buy a new car. And this one, as you can see, it has full ceramic brakes, which is going to change it a lot. It will not start like this, maybe screaming, like brake squeaking noise that I had on the Audi all the time. It will not have it. Like, it doesn't have it, because I know, like after driving 2,000 kilometers now, no issues on the brake whatsoever. Also, on a normal car, if it was not an EV, typically this would last for at least 150,000 kilometers. And now that it's an EV, because it's like, I'm not sure what the English term is, but if you brake, it will regain the energy. So the wear on the brakes is going to be much less on an EV. That means, I don't know, maybe I will never have to do any service on the brakes on this at all. And also on the Audi, you could maybe argue, why did I not get ceramic brakes? But if you get ceramic brakes on an Audi, it's only for the front wheels, not for the back. So you will still have the same issues on the back. So it didn't make sense. It's also a lot of money. And that was one part why I chose this car. From the front, especially with Porsche in general, I mean a 911 for example, I'm not that much a fan of it from the outside, but for the Taycan they changed it definitely, so the different lights, and they have like this, I don't know how it's called, like this front piece. So the Taycan definitely looks different than the typical 911, which I personally like a lot. I think this part of the video we will talk about why not Tesla, because that's the thing. Everybody keeps asking, why did you not get a Model S, like a Plaid? And there are multiple reasons. And I actually just already showed you the first reason, and that's the brakes. You have to think about, I bought this car a year, or ordered it a year ago, and back then the Model S and like the general Model S Plaid and everything was not available with the ceramic brakes, only the garbage brakes that Tesla has. And if you have driven a Tesla Model S, like more sportive and like maybe on a racetrack, you will know that the stock Tesla brakes are not good. And on this one I have full ceramic, which Tesla now also offers, but a year ago they didn't. And now there's the second thing I want to show you. One more feature is rear axis steering. That is something Tesla also doesn't offer. And even though this car is bigger than my previous RS5, this has still a smaller, I'm not sure, like turning circle maybe you can translate it. So yeah, it can turn a lot better because of the rear axis steering. And especially because I live in Berlin and it's a city and like parking and everything is not that convenient, this is a feature that's extremely helpful. The third thing is just the exterior. And that's a very subjective topic because you might like it or you don't like it. You might also not like this car, which is totally fine. But from my perspective, I just prefer this a lot over like a Model 3, like especially over a Model 3 and even over the Model S. One more thing that Tesla just does not offer for me, at least for my taste, is doing anything when it comes to the exterior and like exterior quality, things you want to maybe customize. Like on this, I can just pick any kind of like leather type I like this very specific one I really appreciate, and like some carbon stuff, and you can even have like different stitching colors and everything, so you can customize a lot, which is also something that Tesla just does not offer. Also interior wise, just looking at the dashboard and everything, this is already quite good. But also this has definitely its disadvantages, because at least for my personal preference, I hate everything that is touch screen related when it comes to cars. So you're sitting in your car and you're driving, and then I want to adjust volume, and like, yeah, so the button is down there. I want to adjust something with the, I don't know, temperature. I have to hit this like touch screen on here. That is not convenient, because you want to focus on what's going on outside. You don't want to have to look all the way down there. So that's something I really hate. It's a bit better on this car than on other cars. Like on Tesla, it's worse, because you have this like big screen in the center. You don't even, like on a Model 3, have a dashboard like that. You're missing a lot of other buttons on the steering wheel and around the steering wheel. So Tesla is a lot worse when it comes to that. But where Tesla is much better is, let's check this. I mean, it's German, but it basically says weather is loading. And this will keep loading for probably another hour or day, because a lot of times things just don't load and just don't work. When it comes to software, Tesla is just so far ahead of this right here. Honestly, I don't get what Porsche is smoking when they made this OS. Honestly, at this, like about this part, I don't even know where to start. Like the software, it's mind-blowing that the car, because this car is 180,000 euro, and the software is like, it's maybe acceptable in a 20,000 euro car. just the entire like organization and like the movement. I'm just wondering like if any of you out there who's a bit more into tech would sit in this car and play around like 10 minutes with it, you would have like this big list of feedback you would give to Porsche and say like fix this right now. And like let's just for example go into the GPS. I'm just starting this I'm just starting to get a route to Bonn, which is on the other side of Germany. And now it shows me that I have minus 100% battery. What is this? Like this is a bug every single time that you start your GPS and the route. It will start, now it tells me I finish with 20%. But prior to that, during the loading phase, it tells me minus 100%. Or sometimes it tells me like minus like 80%, and it's like completely weird. And like, yeah, from my perspective, not really acceptable. And generally also like if you are in this route, and now it tells me I have to stop in 193 kilometers where I go to the first charging point. The funny thing is now, if I start driving, this number here disappears. It will just look like this. So after, I don't know, like 500 meters of drive, the distance to the charging station will no longer be there. I cannot see it anymore. Then I have to enter in here and go into like the details to see where I can like charge. But the number, whenever you start driving, it will just disappear and you cannot get it back. One more thing I just don't get. Generally speaking, the steering wheel is quite nice. It has like very nice feel to it and everything, but the buttons. Who came up with the buttons? On the left, you have like the voice control, which I don't use. You have it's recuperation maybe, like regaining energy during braking. Like why would you even switch that off? So that's a button I don't use ever. And then you have this customization button you can put different functions on. So that's the only thing where I like move to the next song. I put it on here. But like there is no back and forth going like the previous track and the next track. That's pretty odd. Like on no other like modern steering wheel you're lacking these buttons. A feature I absolutely love though is the suspension control. I'm sorry about having this in German, but I mean it's a German car, and so yeah. I can set it to low, lowered, like middle and lift. If I put this on lift, you can see the car is lifting up because it's an air ride, and it now asks me, because it's smart lift, if I want to store the GPS coordinates, which means if I go to store, whenever I drive back to the same location, this could be like my garage or whatever, it will lift the car in the future automatically, which is extremely convenient. Another feature that is, I don't know, like technically interesting, but also extremely inconvenient. So, I mean, here you have your air vents. If I want to change them, I have to go in menu. Then on the screen, I can adjust the direction of the vents. And also on the left, I can adjust the intensity, which on paper and like technically is surely something that's kind of cool and interesting. But now imagine you're driving on the Autobahn and you want to adjust anything. You just can't, because you cannot. This requires you to focus on the screen for like 5 to 10 seconds. How on earth are you going to do this while like driving? I think we quickly will talk about the charging topic. And that's one of the reasons why I decided to go for this car, because it has an 800 volt system and also allows very quick charging with 250 kilowatt, which is something that previous cars from like, I don't know, like 4, 5, 6 years ago didn't support. So you would have to like technically worst case wait a long time, which this, like, it's not going to happen. You can charge very quickly. Talking about quickly, it's also a pretty quick car, has a lot of power, theoretically at least. I know it's listed with 600 horsepower during like overboost phase at launch control, which is something I never used so far, probably also never going to use it because it's my daily. Why would I even do it? I don't even know what kind of like sustained performance or like horsepower it has, but it also doesn't really matter to me because it has more than enough for any kind of daily use. But yeah, let's just jump to the charging topic. Talking about charging, and that's obviously a topic that's going to like differ from country to country, so I can just talk about my experiences that I had so far here in Germany. So typically I have my Porsche charging card, which allows me to use like a different amount of like networks I can use for the charging, like Ionity one is called. And like right now I'm using a Shell recharge station, or going to use, which is also an HPC charger. So it's like a high whatever speed charger. So it will obviously depend, like probably the country you are in and what kind of infrastructure you have, if it's like already a good thing or not. But at least here, there's like so many of these, and this is like 175 kilowatt power, so that's already quite quick. And I mean, it's very simple to use. Most of the time I just add my charging card. But in this case, I just had to register in the Shell app, and then it's like pretty simple, pretty straightforward to use, and just had to enter like the number of this. So we just take this HPC charger, go to the car, and here we just have to open this little thing, like going with the finger from underneath. Plug it in. And now I just have to wait for the power to be there to start charging. So then in the center of my dashboard, I have this screen that indicates the like charger state and also the charging speed. And sometimes, like in this state, you can see it's like 66 kilowatt only. So that's actually quite slow, because theoretically this station should charge with like up to 175. So I'm not quite sure why it's that slow. And that's definitely something I had before, like once or twice. And like if you're on a route right now, let's say you're driving on the Autobahn, for example, and you think, okay, I will just quickly charge for 15 minutes. I mean, with 65, I will have to stay here for like 40 to 50 minutes. So this thing that you go to a charging station like this and you plug it in, and you're expecting a certain charging speed, and it's not there, like still just charging with 66 kilowatt. So yeah, I had this before twice, like charging, I don't know, overall maybe like 30 or 40 times. So overall it was quite smooth. But I also went once on the Autobahn and I had exactly the same. I was supposed to charge with like 250 and it only charged with like 80 or 90. And I'm not sure if that's like an infrastructure thing, like if the charger has a problem, or if that's like related to the car somehow. That's something I just don't know. Like I did the same thing last time, so I charged for like 10 minutes, same as right now. Charged for 9 minutes and I charged 10 kilowatt hour, which is not that much. It just would take a lot of time to wait here. And then I just decided to move on to another charger, which is exactly what I'm going to do now. Now that we're driving to a different charger anyway, I can quickly talk about some stuff I like. And that's basically like one of the biggest things I like about this. And I know a lot of people criticize this, like they're this, I don't know, it's just a male thing, I guess, that a lot of people are like, they need their engine to be screaming at them all day long. And even though, you know, I have a Nissan GT-R, right? So it's not like I don't like nice engines out and everything, but as a daily driver like this one, if I get up in the morning and I drive to Grizzly, this is perfect. Like it's so extremely quiet. I even chose the package where there's like noise dampening stuff in the glass, like additional thickness of the glass. So it's even more quiet than what you would usually have in an EV. So that's something I absolutely love. Especially, for example, if I go for like long distance drives, often I have to drive like for, I don't know, like 2 or 3 hours. And if that's the case, I usually take the time to put like, I don't know, like phone conferences in there. So I utilize the time to just stay on the phone for, I don't know, as long as I can to make use of the time sitting in the car. And I can drive like literally like 200 kilometers in an hour with this car, and it's extremely quiet. And I can like relaxed talk on the phone, which is amazing. But then there's also another feature, even though it's not dark outside, it's like a night vision assist something. I'm not sure how it's called in English actually, but you can see it right here. And it's an infrared camera that helps to like identify any kind of like thermal sources. So for example, if I drive through a forest at night, you can even see the exhaust in the rear, which is quite funny. Like also from a technical perspective, I really like this. Like, I don't know, inspecting some stuff, you can even see like imprints on the tires sometimes. And yeah, especially at night, you drive through a forest and everything is dark. If there are like some animals sitting left or right of the street, you can identify them in here and it even will detect it. There's also this like, I'm not sure what it's called, but like pedestrian protection or pedestrian detection, something like that. So if you drive through the city at night and it's like pretty dark, it will see pedestrians on the side and will mark it to you. Same if there's like somebody on a bicycle next to you, you might not see, or it's like hard to see at rain, for example. You could even, I'm not sure if you saw it, but at the space where the car was standing still, you can even see the heat source at the tires. So that's a feature, like from a technical perspective, that I find pretty amazing. Right now we are at a traffic light, just stopping. This is the car in front of us, and here's the tire. And like once he starts rolling, you could see like the imprint on the tire where he stood still, because there's like a temperature difference between the space where he was standing still on the road and the rest of the tire. So like those tiny things, pretty funny. So now at, it's called in German E.ON hypercharger, that's like just working so much better. So just put my card and then I just select the high performance charger. And that's how it's supposed to look like. Now it's charging with 250 kilowatt, as you can see down there. So the entire charging topic, I personally find it extremely like relaxed, especially if you think about it, because I don't know, if you talk to like petrol heads about this, then so many people are like, yeah, but you have to wait for such a long time if you charge your car. And I mean, typically, if I'm charging at a hypercharger like this with 250 kilowatt, from the duration, well, from the charging level from like 0% to like 80%, it's extremely quick. Like from about 60%, it will get slower, but like generally from 0 to 80% is extremely like fast, and typically with this car takes about 15 minutes. And if I think about with my previous car, if I would just drive to a petrol station, you might have to wait in line, then you put in your, like, I don't know, the pipe thing, you know, I don't know what the word is in English. But so basically you fill up your car with petrol, then I go to the cashier, then I pay. From the time like stopping at a petrol station to like you have your car filled up and you leave, it's at least 5 minutes. Worst case, if you have to wait maybe in line, it's like 10 minutes. And here I have to wait like 15. So that's like almost no difference. And if I drive like a longer distance, which I already tried several times with this car, let's say I drive like 500 kilometers, then you should just dial in your route into the navigation system, into the GPS, the built-in. It will direct you to the appropriate charging station, because it will know at which distance you will have what kind of like charging level, and it will also preconditioned battery. Like that's something we didn't do right now, but typically if you are on your route, then it will heat up the battery, for example. It will heat it up to like, I don't know, like 40 degrees Celsius. So at a time like you're putting the charger, it will just charge a lot quicker, which is something you would have like in a state right now. But generally it just is very quick. And from my experience, from like, I don't know, like 10 to 80%, it's maybe like 15 minutes, which I think is totally fine, because typically, especially going for like a longer distance ride, I mean, having a 15 minutes break after driving like 200 or 300 kilometers, it's definitely something that's also recommended, because it's just better for you and you will be like more awake. And typically, I don't know, like I just get a drink and, you know, do the typical thing you do after a long time if you go to like the bathroom, you know. And so yeah, I just see no downside, like the charging thing, even though a lot of people seem to be reserved about this, at least to me, totally fine. So the entire charging thing, because at least whenever in Germany you talk about EVs, you have like the petrol head guys and you have the like, I don't know, it feels like the Tesla guys, but yeah, I don't get it. It's a lot of people are very stubborn when it comes to their opinion, and some people who are into petrol cars. I mean, I own a GTR, right? It's not like I don't like petrol cars. It's like I'm open to technology, and if the technology has more benefits to me, I will get it. Anything else doesn't make sense to me as an engineer. And for this, it has so many more benefits than a normal combustion car. So for example, like the charging, even though it takes time, but I'm planning to do something on my house with like solar panels, and then I can charge for free. So that's another benefit. Also tax-wise, I will save like 5,000 to 7,000 euro a year with this car over my RS5, which is definitely also interesting. But that's probably just like from region to region. But also right now in Berlin, on a daily basis, we have those like, I glue myself to the floor climate idiots. And it's not like I'm like, climate change is a big problem, don't get me wrong. Something has to happen. But those idiots gluing themselves to the street every single day, they're just fucking annoying. And I've been like stuck into traffic jams for I don't know how many times because of them. And then I sit in my car for let's say 3 hours, and if I have a normal car, I have to keep the engine running because of the AC. I'm emitting stuff into the air like for hours for no reason, and that's whenever I'm stuck in a traffic jam. Whereas with this car, I don't have an engine running, so it's only the AC which is running. For me personally, that's great. Same goes for in winter, because I park this in my garage, and then in winter, if it's cold, I can just take my phone and I can put it on heating. So whenever I jump in my car, it's nice, it's 21 degrees Celsius, and I will feel nice and warm, which is something I cannot do with a combustion car, because it's like parked in a closed garage, and like it would emit all the like gases into the air, which is not allowed. And like, it's obviously you don't want to walk into a room where your car has been like emitting stuff into the air for 15 minutes. So EV in those aspects to me has just so many benefits, and that's why I went with it. And I'm like, after 2,200 kilometers, very pleased. I don't think I will ever go back to a like combustion car for a daily, because this is, to me at least, a lot better. And I think a lot of people, they would just have to try it themselves and see how it actually is, instead of like hating on it, because I see this like, yeah, I don't know. I just see so many like weird comments, and like from an engineer perspective, it's all too emotional to me. Like I look at it, and if it's like technologically better than something else, I will go for it. Simple as that. Yeah, that was a different topic than usual. Something just I wanted to kind of share and talk about. Hope you also enjoyed this different video. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Bye bye.